Hi there, everyone. So, welcome. And what we're talking about today is the gifts that arise from adversity. And the gifts that I'm referring to are those character strengths that arise and grow from having to meet and deal with natural disasters, pandemics, life transitions. What are the gifts that come from this experience? And I wanted to share with you three really important values that I've found in my life, regardless of what's going on. If I can come back to them, they really assist me and help me to keep going and to keep growing. So resilience is one of those things. Resilience, we're born, we learn, we grow, we're hardwired for learning new things and adapting, I guess, to our environment. And one of the things that I know is that all of the many experiences that I have been through in my life have created in me a trust in the resilience that I have to come back, and the trust that I have that there are those good times as well. Now, when we are faced with the pandemic or life circumstances that are way outside of our control, unexpected, critical incidences, traumatic experiences, whatever that is that we talk about, the first thing that happens to us as human beings is we actually wake up. We're awake, we're present. And so that's a fabulous place to start with, to recognize that we're not just sort of in this sleepy automatic pilot, but when these natural disasters happen, when these things threaten our well-being, we wake up. And that's the potential we have to be able to adapt, to grow, and to encourage ourselves and each other to manage the things that happen. So the first thing, or the first value that I encourage people and myself, is the protective factor of self-compassion. Because often when we are going through a crisis, we can really bring ourselves down with that automatic default of negative thinking. So, and being hard on ourselves too, and perhaps judgmental that this is not what I want, this is not the situation that I want to be in. So we need to have that kindness and tenderness towards ourselves while we're going through these hardships. And self-compassion is something we can learn and grow. And we're very familiar with the work of Kristin Neff and her work on self-compassion, and also then compassion for others. Self-compassion is seen as a protective quality and activity that we can really grow from and be able to apply in our hardship situations. So self-compassion helps us to then self-care, take care of ourselves when we're going through things in life. And self-care helps us to maybe have a bit of a routine where we're relaxing our body because we've got a lot of tension, a lot of stress. We're on overdrive, dealing with what's going on, the changes we're having to deal with. So if we can remember to maybe take, 5 or 10 minutes for that self-care stuff. How can we help ourselves sleep well, even while we've got so much going on in our mind? So the next one is perspective taking. So big thinkers, we think, we like to create stories, we like to have closure. Perspective, what is my perspective on this current situation? And is it a perspective that allows for me to let go of the old? Sometimes we just have to let go. And that transition of letting go can be quite difficult, quite a struggle. Quicker we can let go and embrace being present with compassion to what is happening and arising in our life, the easier we can go through this. All right, we're not adding to it with a negative mindset that says it's got to be the way it was. No, we're changing. There's gifts that are coming out of this. Okay, the next quality, if you like, or value that is really important to me for well-being and managing change is experiences in nature that bring awe and wonder. And for me, that is in nature, and that can be the most beautiful sunrise or a sunset, the colours in the sky. That can be diving into the ocean when it's freezing cold and the shrill of that waking me up again. So awe and wonder is something that we need to actually be able to nourish ourselves with while we're going through whatever we're going through in life that might be challenging us. So what are the outcomes of all of these character strengths? It's many character strengths, as you know. This is not just the three, but they're the three that I kind of default back to. Perspective taking, being able to reframe whatever is going on into something that's more growthful and meaningful to me. So the thinking part of me is making meaning of this, making sense of it. I might not fully understand what the growth is going to be or what the gift's going to be right this minute, but I know that it will come eventually. I'll work it out what that is. Now, I'd like to give you an example of how we can apply this in our lives. And this was an experience of a woman that had been seeking some support and help from me. And her situation was really complex in terms of the emotional intensity that she was experiencing and the mixture, the conflicting emotions that were arising in her was causing her a lot of stress, and she was reaching out for some help. First off, that's great to be able to ask for help, get help, speak to a friend, a professional, reaching out. What's going on? I need someone to bounce this off. Okay, her situation was beautiful colleague at work who was like a mentor to her, who actually was a bit like a surrogate mum to her because her mum was overseas, and with the pandemic, she hadn't been able to visit her own mum. This particular colleague was in an executive position and came down with cancer, and over a year had been struggling with working, being able to support herself with her health. And this had been going on for a while. And it had come to the point where actually her days were coming to a close, an end, and she wasn't really able to be returning to work. And so this young woman was now in her position, and she'd been in this work position for a month. Her position was looking after 5 managers, and these managers had very high respect and regard. Everyone regards this woman that is now in her last days of dying with great affection and admiration. So there is a lot of grief in this culture about what is happening to her. The young woman that's in the job, she's taken on the job and she loves the job, she's enjoying it, but she is struggling with all of the emotion and also feeling some guilt that she really is loving this job and would like to stay in this job, but it means the death of this woman. And so that's very complex for her, and she's upset to even admit that, you know. And at the same time, she's also having to manage the grief of everyone that comes and asks her, how is this woman that's now not at work? How is she? And, you know, she's probably the inevitable is going to happen. And so she's having to manage that grief as well as try to learn her new job. And because this woman is unwell, she's not able to mentor her in this new job. So I really feel for the situation this woman's in. How can we turn it around? How can we get a perspective here that will help support this woman? Because it's not going to change. This is going to continue for a little while, and then when this woman does pass and die, there's going to be a whole lot of more grief that she's got to be able to hold, as well as keeping her job going. So I talked to her about the potential of growth, personal character strengths and growth. And I said, I can hear from the way that you're affected by all of this that you're someone with a lot of empathy. And so empathy is a very important value. And I said, and how is empathy perceived at home with your husband? And she said, well, he's very supportive, but he's not really sure how to manage all those emotions that I feel, those silly emotions. So I could pick up that there was a little bit of kind of negativity around emotion and feeling empathy and what that can cost you. And so we did a bit of a discussion about it. Really, we need to acknowledge and have and grow emotional intelligence, that being able to have empathy for people and to also at the same time have your own boundaries to keep yourself nourished and protected, that self-compassion is one of those qualities that you can cultivate that help you to be able to hold that space for others. And so I inquired as to whether she'd ever been interested in counselling or maybe learning some counselling skills. And she informed me that she actually had studied a bit of psychology but decided to go into admin. So I said, well, here you've got an opportunity to combine the two interests that you have and the two strengths that you have, admin and empathy, in being able to support and help the people, learning how to let them know that you care, but also creating boundary by referring them to get some more support for themselves professionally. So there was this whole kind of weight lifted off her shoulders that, wow, this is really worthwhile sticking with. This is really worthwhile. No matter what the outcome, this is an opportunity for me to grow and to give my gifts. So that's an example of how we can use the values as strengths and how we can grow and cultivate those strengths with whatever situation might be happening to us. Pandemic, natural disasters, people dying, whatever it might be, it's that emotion that we need to value. And if we value those emotions and we value those strengths of social strengths, if you like, then it reframes the whole experience. It's not stressful anymore. It's an opportunity for growth. So resilience is definitely an outcome that comes from dealing with life situations. We're not born with resilience. It's definitely something that we learn through life, not necessarily related to age, because some young people are going through amazing difficulties and hardships in their lives from a very early age, and they are learning to adapt and to grow. So these are the three values that I would like to offer to you to think about and to contemplate. Value of we're present. Whenever there's something happening, we become present. We're awake. If we can be awake with compassion for ourselves and compassion for the circumstances of others, this can help us to reframe. This is an opportunity for growth and strength. I can contribute. So this is where values in action can come in handy for us. How are we going to put it into action? Compassion is empathy plus action. What can I do to alleviate the suffering of others? And then we can come into, where can I find the awe and the wonder? And that awe and wonder is so nourishing to us spiritually. And the awe and the wonder can be when you see the connections that are formed between people when they're going through hardships. That connection, we can be excited and delighted by a beautiful sunrise or the twinkle in somebody's eye and a smile. So awe and wonder, if we can have that in our life, it helps to nourish us as well. So one of the meditations that I have found really helps to orientate me into that compassion in action is a beautiful meditation that comes from the insight meditation tradition, from Buddhist teachings of metta and kahuna. And I'd like for us to have an opportunity to practice that meditation right now.